I'd like to make the motion to schedule a high school informational meeting. The date to be selected and approved via email. The meeting purpose will be to share information with the public concerning high school issues in Hooksett. If I get a second, I'll add to that.
I'll second that.
Following the roundtable meeting, and many questions that were asked there were what information we could provide. It was a bit frustrating at the roundtable because the goal of that meeting was not to provide information, but to get information. So we left a lot of people interested in what we were doing, and we were asked if we were going to have another meeting to follow up, and I certainly think it's a good idea. I would like to form the meeting similar to what we had with the roundtable, where we bring the yellow banner back, we go through the issues that people had, and we give out information that we can about those issues. I'm hoping that we can get some of the people that were attended the roundtable to come back, and that we will be able to answer some of the questions that they had on their mind that night. The reason that I'm asking that we pick this date and approve it by email is I would really like to get this in before we get into the very end of school functions, and I think it's going to be difficult to schedule already. So rather than waiting another 2 weeks, I'd like to be able to act on this, shortly after this meeting.
What was that date again?
Well, I don't have a date. What I'm asking for is that the board, I'll read it again, the date to be selected and approved via email, which I believe that we can do. What I need to do is, if the board wants to go ahead with this, I need to talk to the principals and figure out, which is very tricky, what dates are available. Then I would forward those dates to the board, considering the administration and so forth, and we try to come up with a date. It's just, I'm concerned that if we wait to another meeting to approve that date, we're another 2 weeks out, and we're slower in being able to schedule.
Mr. Pearl, I just have a question because some of the parents have been asking me. We had all the data we gathered, and then we got it in digital form. A lot are asking, where is that data going to go? Are they going to be able to see it somewhere, or is that going to happen in conjunction with this meeting, are you thinking, or before, after?
Yeah, that's a good point. We did meet last Thursday, I believe, and went to the Hooksett Library and actually typed in every one of the white sheets of paper that was written on it, every table in the meeting. It's got to be well over 100 sheets. I'm now compiling those by subject, and I'm hoping that we will have those available on the website prior to this meeting, and we will probably have at least a few copies of that at the meeting for people to look at. I don't want to make a lot of paper copies because it's just going to be a lot of data. But yes, all of that information is going to be made public as soon as we compile it.
Madam Chair, do you need a motion tonight to prepare for that? So in other words, you mentioned that you want to put it on the website, but you would need a motion from the board to do that, wouldn't you? Or are you planning on waiting?
We already have a motion on the floor. If we need to make a second motion, we can do that after.
No, I'm just asking if he wants one. I'm just curious.
Very likely, good suggestion, Mr. Mosqueda.
So I just want to make sure that I'm clear that we want to go over what you collected from the roundtable, or more we want to share with people where we are.
Sure. This is my suggestion. The reason that I'm trying to act on this quickly is my experience with planning the roundtable was we did not have enough time to really plan it. And in this, we have much less time, but there's less involved here. So that's the first reason that I'm asking to just get a date approved. The idea that I have for the meeting would be that all the school board members are there in attendance, and as we go through, starting at one end of that banner, any facts that we can offer, we will. And there'll be many things there that we can't speak to, because there's things there that are just concerns or things that are opinions that we wouldn't speak to. But perhaps we could go down through that banner and check off some things, that information we could provide to the public. I think the banner would be a great focal point, because these were the questions and concerns that were brought forth out of that meeting. So rather than us trying to create a format at this point of things we want to talk about, I think it would be better to just try to answer those questions. I have no idea how many of those we can answer, but I would say stick to the facts as they're known, not to make it an opinion meeting, but only of those things that we can explain. Many of the facilitators at the meeting expressed that it was very difficult for them not to answer people's questions because they did know the answer, and people at the table had a very different impression. But the facilitator's job was not to interject. So I think we kind of have this duty now to come back and say, you know, we know you had a question about this. Here is the fact that goes with that. And that's why I'd like to do it relatively soon after the roundtable, so perhaps we can keep some momentum going in the community, and we can get some answers for those people that ask questions.
Is there any discussion? We'll call a motion to a vote. David, do you read the motion to us, and would you be willing to provide that to Leanne, so she has it for minutes?
Yes, I will read it. And I can't really provide it. Well, I have notes on it, but I don't think she'll. A motion to schedule a high school informational meeting, date to be selected and approved via email. The meeting purpose will be to share information with the public concerning high school issues in Hooksett.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Madam Chair? Yes, I have another motion that I would like to make. A motion to direct Superintendent Littlefield to solicit quotes from qualified law firms in accordance with the document titled Request for Quotes 5713, which I will hand out.
Is that right, David, or?
I do have that all in writing, yes. If I get a second.
I'll second for discussion.
May I speak to the motion? What I'm asking for here is, well, I think it'd probably be better for me to read this. It's only one page, and I'll try to get through it. It's maybe a bit boring, but let's give it a try. Introduction. The Hooksett School Board is seeking the additional services of an attorney to complete its current legal counsel. We are seeking a skilled contract attorney to negotiate possible tuition agreements with area high schools. Submission process. Costs should be quoted on an hourly basis for services provided. Proposals may be submitted via email or U.S. mail. Proposals should be submitted before June 1st, 2013 to the Hooksett School Board, SAU 15, 90 Farmer Road, Hooksett, New Hampshire, or the email address of the school board. Questions regarding this RFQ should be submitted to the chairperson of the Hooksett School Board at that email address. Selection. The Hooksett School Board will review all responses received by June 1st, 2013. Candidates will be asked to meet with the Hooksett School Board. The school board will then make their choice of attorney. Requirements. The successful candidate will be certified in New Hampshire attorney who is familiar with New Hampshire educational contractual law. The attorney and its firm shall have no valid perceived conflicts of interest with the school districts of Manchester, Bow, Pembroke, Pinkerton, Goffstown, or Londonderry. The attorney will represent the Hooksett School Board in possible future negotiations or possible construction of tuition agreements if in these proposed high schools. Legal services required. The services will be limited to the negotiation of possible new contractual tuition agreements and the preparation of warrant articles related to those agreements, if necessary, presented for possible approval to the town voters. Services will not be required for the school board's current tuition agreement or any current legal issues. All of these legal issues will be handled by the school district's current counsel. Timeline. As soon as an attorney is selected, the Hooksett School District will meet with the chosen attorney to discuss the board's goals. Then the attorney will meet with the Hooksett District's current attorney. As soon as these meetings are completed, the attorney will schedule the meetings with representatives of the high schools listed above. This work needs to be completed before October 1st, 2013. Depending on the situation, the attorney may be required to prepare tuition contractual agreement provisions for the school's district ballot prior to January 1st, 2014. Sincerely, the Hooksett School Board. And our current legal counsel just asked me to also state that they would be unable to fulfill this role as they do provide services for the services that are mentioned here. So we cannot use, if we decided to have an attorney negotiate, we cannot use our current legal counsel. And that's the document. My reasoning for bringing this forward is, I think that this board needs to explore what options we have as far as other high schools. This board has sent a letter of breach to Manchester stating that we feel we should be out of the contract by June 2014. I think it's incumbent on this board to now be making preparations for that date. And I feel that we need the services of a professional who is familiar with the intricacies of contracts and education to get that information for us.
I'd like to make a point of order at this time to the board. This was not a specific item listed on our agenda, and therefore we cannot vote on this motion because, in all fairness to the public, it was not transparent, nor were they given the opportunity to read this and research the subject. So it can be an item that's put on our future agenda, which we have a meeting on Monday, I believe it's May 20th. Very clear, according to our procedure and Robert's rules, we're not supposed to vote on something like this if it's not clearly stated in our agenda.
I will remove my motion.
I'll remove my second.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to waive the rules regarding the notice of an item before it's voted on. If I get a second, I'll speak to it.
I'll second it for discussion.
I think that time is of the essence here. All this document does is ask that attorneys give us a quote. This in no way contractually obligates us to any services. We may choose to pick no one. We would certainly come forward and be transparent if we do decide to pick someone, but I don't think that this is an action that's going to, in itself, have any funds tied to it at this time. So I motion that we waive the rules so that we can move on this matter now.
First of all, I think Mr. Pearl, this is very proactive. I gotta say I like it because we've been trying to communicate with Manchester now for months. We've made every best effort I believe we can do. I think Superintendent Littlefield's done a great job for us. And there's only so much we can do. So we have to plan for different scenarios. We can't wait. And this sounds like it would be a good plan. It wouldn't involve anybody's conflicts of interest. But, and it's a big but, I agree with Chair Corcus that I don't think there's a rush to bypass our current policies that we are pretty strict on. You know, we want to give the public plenty of time to take a look at this. I think our board members would like plenty of time to take a look at it too and think about it, because it's a big idea, and I like the idea, don't get me wrong. But I don't think there's anything wrong with holding this off for our next meeting. We would properly post it and follow our procedures. I don't think there's a reason to bypass our procedures right now. Thank you.
Suzanne?
I agree. I definitely need some time to absorb this, understand it, and really think about whether I believe that this is the avenue to go in at this exact time.
And I am in no way saying I'm in favor of opposed. I don't feel that I've had the time to look at this and see if there are other options besides seeking legal advice. Are there other organizations that do searches like this to help you find where high school students could go I just don't know that information. Yes, Mr. Liston?
I just want to be very clear. I support this because I think it's an outside the box thinking idea. It's key to what we need to make decisions. Again, my only problem with this whole thing is I'm not in favor of bypassing our procedures for posting. That's all. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll remove my motion to waive the rules.
I'll remove my second.
Is there anything else on the Manchester High School issues that you would like to discuss at this time?
Yes, Madam Chair. I think there are a few things that we can share with the public. If anyone has read the Union Leader, we are supposed to receive an injunction tomorrow, according to Mr. Gatsas. At this time, we have received no paperwork or anything to do with that. So what you read in the paper is all that there is at this point. So I guess what I'm saying is we have nothing to offer you, but I just wanted to share that with you that to this point nothing has occurred, or we have no information other than what you've seen.
If there are no other, thank you, Mr. Brown.